Okay, assignment 1. This is week 9 for 8th grade math. This is assignment 1. Like I said, this is volume of cylinders. All you're actually doing is choosing the correct setup or the correct formula with the correct numbers plugged in for this. You're not actually solving it. So your formula, like it says up at the top, is pi r squared times height for volume of cylinders. If you need to write that down every single time, that's totally fine. If you're using a scratch sheet of paper and you want to write it down, by all means. So the only two things you need to know are the r, which is the radius, which is the distance halfway across a circle. Okay, sometimes they'll give you the length all the way across, and that's not what we want. That would be diameter. So we want half of it. And the other thing you need to know is the height. So just how tall the shape is. So when they give you a cylinder, that's always your height, how tall the 3D shape is. So on number 1, all we have to plug in, like I said, is the radius and the height. So on number 1, we've got 14 centimeters, and they drew the line all the way across. Okay, so remember, we want only half of that. So if we divide that by 2, we get 7. So that means my radius is 7. And my height, I don't have to do anything there. They just gave me the measurement. So if I was going to plug that in, pi times radius, which was 7, squared times the height, 18. Okay, and the only one that matches that, pi, 7 squared, and 18 is A. Same thing on the bottom ones, pi r squared times height. So all I'm doing is plugging things in. The radius, do you see how the line is only halfway across the circle? That's great. That means they already gave us the radius, and the height is right there. Same thing, pi r squared times height. Just look really closely, because on this one they drew the line all the way across. That's not what we want. You need to divide that by 2. The rest of these are pretty self-explanatory. Halfway across the circle, that's what we need. Halfway, that's your radius. This one, they drew the line all the way across, so you have to divide that 6. 7, they only drew it halfway, so they already gave you the radius, they gave you the height. Same thing here, halfway across the circle, that is the radius, and that's the height. Same thing, half circle. Okay, but look closely on 10. They drew it all the way across. Even though this tripped some people up last time, they put the 3 off to the side, kind of weird. That doesn't mean anything. If they drew the line all the way across, then they're telling you that that's the length all the way across. We want the length of half of that. We want the radius. So divide 3 by 2. It's 3 divided by 2. Okay, same thing on number 12. It looks funky, but the fact that they drew a line all the way across tells you that's the diameter. You only want half of that, so divide the 6 in half. None of these are weird. This is the diameter they gave you on number 14, so you need to cut that in half, divide it by 2. And same thing on number 15. They give the line all the way across, divide that 7 by 2. Okay, assignment number 2 for week 9. The formula, this is the volume of cones, and they give you the formula. Again, just like the cylinders, if you need to write it down every single time so you can visually see it, then that works. That's perfect. So 1/3 times pi times radius squared times height. Again, the only things we need to know are the radius, which is halfway, the distance halfway across the circle, and the height, which will look a little different than cylinder, but it'll be a straight line going from the middle of the circular base all the way to the tip-top point of the cone, the pointy part. So on number 1, on the circular base, they drew a line all the way across the circle, and from the cylinders, you can remember that that means that's the diameter. We want half of that, so 13 divided by 2 is what I want to solve, which is 6.5. So if I plug it all in, 1/3 times pi times radius squared, my radius 6.5, because I cut that 13 in half. squared times how tall it is, which is 32. Okay, so I want to find the one that matches that. 6.5 is only there on B and D, and then 32 is only there on D. Okay, remember with heights, we don't have to do anything special. We don't have to divide them or do anything weird. Okay, on number 2, same thing, 1/3 pi r squared times height if you want to write the formula down each time, and all you're looking for is the radius, which they gave you. You don't have to do any special dividing, and the height, they gave you that too. Okay, radius, height, 1/3 pi r squared times height. It's the same formula every single time. This one, these are both pretty self-explanatory. There's no dividing that needs to happen. They gave you the radius on both. Same thing here. And same thing here, even though it's twisted sideways. So 1/3 times pi times radius times the height. This one's a little bit different because they gave us the distance all the way across that circle. We need half of that. So 8 divided by 2 is your radius, the height. Boop, boop, boop. Height is there, nothing different needs to happen with the height. 8, they give you the radius. Number 9, they did not give you the radius. So this distance right here, all the way across, divide that whole thing by 2. Plug that in for radius. Same thing on this one, but they gave you the radius. Number 11, they did not give us the radius. So cut that 11 in half. 11 divided by 2, and that's your radius. Same thing on number 12, 18 divided by 2. They gave you the radius, and they gave you the radius. Okay, cut that 12 in half because that's the distance all the way across. We only want halfway. 12 divided by 2 is your radius. Plug that in for R, and then they give you the height. You don't have to do anything special with that. Okay, if y'all need any help, make sure to email, join Google Meets, all the things.